this time. Okay, yes. So sorry for coming in at this time. We were having some, technical problems, and that's why we came in at this time. So we apologize. Okay. All right. Good morning and welcome to Upskilling 5 million African freelancers in 5 years. If this is your first time of joining us, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. This is Upscaling 5 million African freelancers in 5 years, and it is powered by Source in Business. Okay. Now, Source in Business is a platform where you get to showcase your talent, where you showcase your skill as a freelancer, where you also get to meet other people who would be in need of your skill. Also, it also runs a mentorship program where you get to find people in your specific field, people who you want to mentor you or who want to show you the ropes in the business. All right, there are mentors on Source in Business mentorship program. You get to contact all these mentors, and they get to put you through and just make life pretty much easier. Okay, so welcome. My name is Oge Mark, and we're going to be here for we've got two guests today, two ladies, beautiful ladies, and they will be talking to us about, their journey and, what life has. They'll be talking to us generally. Okay, so come in and join in. The links are somewhere around, so you just copy the link and send it to your friends. You can join us on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook. We're also on YouTube, so you can join in. Hey, Eze Chiamaka, welcome. And yes, it's your first time. Congratulations. Thank you for joining. Your life is about to change. Your life is about to change. All right. So thank you, Eze Chiamaka, for joining us. Okay. So do share the link. Tell your friends to joining as well. Wherever you are, all over the world, you're welcome. From Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, South Africa, Canada, wherever you're, Europe, all over the world, you're welcome to Source in Business, where we are upscaling 5 million African years. Right, Timmy, thank you for joining. Hello. Thank you for joining, Timmy. Do share the links all over on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook as well. We are all over. You can join us wherever you are in the world. Tell your friends to coming, and let's have a great time. All right. So we have two guests that we will be talking about today. Okay, two guests we'll be talking about today. We have Müge Cöteli. She's a fintech evangelist, a lawyer. She's also from Switzerland. And Chiamaka, this is not the time and the place for you to advertise your product. I know you want to advertise your product, but this is not the time and place to do that. Okay. Here we just want to talk. And hi, good morning, John Atta. Thank you for joining. Please share the link and tell everyone on your contact list to join us wherever they are. Hello, good morning, and welcome. I have Mrs. Sass. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Maybe your volume or something. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Hi, Mrs. Sass. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, too.
We also have Müge Cöteli from Switzerland. She also joins us today on Upscaling 5 million African freelancers in 5 years. Hello, Müge Cöteli. Good morning.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Thank you for joining. Welcome. Thank you. Okay, patience. I see your message right there. Please, you're just going to have to listen, all right? You will have to listen through the entire program. And if the ladies are talking, you get to get one or two things, and then you get to sign up on Source in Business, a mentorship program. Then you find the perfect mentor for you. But for now, we just need to listen, and they can ask appropriate questions, and then we can direct them to the ladies. All right. So today on Upskilling 5 Million Africans in 3 lessons in 5 years, we have our first guest we'll be talking to today, Miss Osas Idubor. I got that correct, right? Did I get that correct, Mrs. Osas Idubor? Okay, we lost her right there. The connection seemed to be pretty messed up today. Okay, well, before she comes back, I'm just going to give a brief, short bio on Mrs. Saz. She is an award-winning writer, a best-selling author, and she's also a serial entrepreneur. She's going to tell us exactly what kind of business she's doing, and how she's combining her skill as a writer and author as well as an entrepreneur. And she's also she's described as a very spontaneous novelist, and she's brilliant, a brilliant writer. Emmanuel, good morning. Thank you for joining. I do understand that you need a mentor, so why don't you stay back, listen, and then you'll find someone that will be able to mentor you in the right in your preferred career. Okay. Just a moment, please. So sorry about that. She's inside. She's inside. So sorry about that. Okay.
So how are you, Osas? Good morning. Osas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
How's everything as well? Good morning. Okay, so we'll just try and see what we can touch before Ogi comes back. We know that time is not our friend. We have less than 1 hour to spend on this program. So, Osas, how are you? I'm trying to see if I could bring some of you on the platform.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So good to have you. You know, you and I we've been talking about having you on this program, coming around to encourage young freelancers. You've shared your story with me. I've been very inspired, and I believe that every young person should listen to you. And for the wonderful things you've been doing, actually, I've been very, very inspired. And I just think that there's so much for you to be able to bring out there. So good to have you, please.
Thank you, I'm honored.
Go ahead, introduce yourself. Let everybody get to know you.
Okay. Okay. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, please.
Okay. My name is Osas Idubor. I am an award-winning writer, best-selling author, and business mogul. So it's actually to best describe myself as a spontaneous novelist, one who commands the total power of the sleeve. When I'm not writing brilliance, I'm probably listening to music, and I enjoy work by other writers as well. I mentor new and intending writers. I take them through the necessary processes of writing. And of course, writers who have been in the game a lot, should I say a lot longer, but don't quite know the necessary things to put in place. So I coach them as well.
Okay. I think I've seen a couple of your works. I would like you to mention some of your books, some of your works. And I also know that you probably have a magazine company, right?
What did you say?
Yeah, please.
What company?
Tell us some of your products, some of your books that you have published.
Okay, okay. I have more than 4 published works. I have Butterfly Kisses. That was my first ever published work. I have butterfly pieces, Excel, tools. I this thing called writing. It's soon to be released ebook. So I've gone on to blog some of my fiction series as well. They are not necessarily published, but of course they are on my social platforms for people to read as well.
Okay. So I think let Müge continue with the stuff. She's back now. Müge, are you back?
Oh yes, yes, I'm back. Right. I'm back.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please, Mr. Sass, please go on. Where's the noise coming from?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Please go with what you were saying. You're talking to us about your work. Can you
Yeah,
hear
she has
me?
Yes, I
introduced
was.
herself. She has introduced herself, so you can just go from there.
Okay. Talking about my work, I think okay. I'd like to talk about Airtel. I'd like to talk
Okay.
about Airtel. So it fetched me more than enough nominations at the end of the day, and I think the reason was something more like a was something remarkable because the phrases for it were in for lack of working, well, let me just move on. But anyways, I rate on my work the same because at the end of the day, I put in a lot of thought, effort into everything I create from the scratch, of course. So I would say it's been quite remarkable. It is quite remarkable having this book that people also have their various interpretations to. You know, at the end of the day, a book has to be able to teach life lessons. So just constantly getting praises from people about all of my books that I've published have been more than good for me, more than money at the end of the day.
That's great. That's great. So, okay, being a writer and all, how did you realize that? How did you know that you were gifted as a writer? How did you know that it was something you could do? Did you go through
How did I
any
what?
How did you know that you were a gifted writer? How did you know that it was something you could do and be good at it? Did you get that?
The year 2003, but I remember writing before that time. The only difference was that I used to write songs of other writers, songs that had already been in existence. So I
Okay.
write these songs, and also where I wanted to become a performing artist. But it wasn't until 2006 that I took writing a lot more serious. I would
Okay.
write and then pass my work to my friends in other classes. They would read, and in some cases, they would demand for the continuations of those stories. And in other cases, they would ask for other writers. So in my own mind, like I never really knew my stories were supposed to have some continuations of some sort. So now that I think of it, that was basically how fiction series started for.
Oh, we lost her right there. The connection seemed to be really, really messed up. Mugi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, and so while we wait for her to return, we can, begin with you. That would be the smartest thing to do right now, considering the fact that we're pressed for time and we've not really done anything today. Okay, all right. So Miss Muge Cöteli is a lawyer from Switzerland. She's also she's a board member at the EU Tech Chamber. She's also she's also a regular jury member in the International Startup Competition, and she's also a frequent public speaker. You're welcome once again.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, all right. So the first question we're gonna ask is: apart from all of these things that you do, right? COVID was in 2020, and a lot of people were affected. A lot of people had to discover freelancing and remote work. Now, in your own opinion, do you think that the area of freelancing and remote work is here to stay post COVID-19?
Yes, so absolutely would be my answer. I'm going to give you a little bit of a story that will illustrate why I say so. Years ago, in 2015, I've been starting with a fabulous company. And back then, I immediately started working from wherever I felt comfortable working. And from wherever I felt I could get most information around the company and their expertise. And so I was moving around within the company a lot, and nobody understood why I wasn't at my desk. And I always thought this makes full sense to be able to work from wherever I think I can gain most information in order to best. And so with time, one of the buildings was made, and interestingly enough, the whole concept of that new building was that you would have less space than the people that would have to work within that building, was to push people to think about whether they have to come to work or not. So that was in 2017. And now we've had COVID in 2019. And that has pushed us to rethink even further. So the entire population has started thinking about whether they want to go to work physically, right? And that has pushed also the recognition or the acknowledgement that we need to own the way we work. And owning the way you work is owning where you work, the decision as to where you work, when you work, because not everybody is equally performant according to the time that they work, at which they work. So some people feel much more comfortable working in the morning, and some people are night owls, so they feel much more comfortable working at late hours. And for the time being, we still have that notion, well, at least until COVID started, we had that notion that we should work 9 to 5 sessions, and then maybe a bit more earlier and later. But today we understand that this is part of owning the way we work, and owning where we work, when we work, and how we work. And within the how we work, we have also freelancing, right? The choice of the ways in which we work. And these are all aspects that are being cherished today. And the reason why is that people have recognized the value of working remotely. They are able to take breaks when they feel they need to take a break. They are willing to take breaks with their family because they can. They can go for a walk with their dog when they feel that would do them good, both the dog and themselves. So there is a whole lot. During the COVID times, they rented Airbnb someplace in the world and went to work from there. So that's literally remote work, even if you're an employee with an organization. So I really believe that there has been a change management as to people's picture of what work should be, and the same loyalty as to one employer has shifted slightly, favoring a certain work-life balance within which we choose the way we work, how we work, where we work, and the modalities of the type of work that we engage with. And that's why freelancing has its era today more than ever. This is the time where freelancers can say, and now I want to engage with freelancing. I want to be independent, and I'm going to push all my efforts into building my brand and being on the market. This is something that is to stay.
All right. Thank you so much, Müge Cöteli. Thank you. And Mrs. Osas Idubor is back with us. Can you hear me? Osas, can you hear me? Can you let me know if you can hear me? Do a signal or something, a thumbs up or something. Let me know you can hear me. Okay. All right. Okay. So you were telling us how
Yes,
you
I
knew
can.
that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. So you were telling us earlier on how you knew that you
Yes,
were
yes.
you were good at writing and then you wanted to do this.
Please, what do you say?
Okay, so the next question we're going to ask you is, do you think that creative writing is inborn, or do you think that it's something one has to learn? Is it a skill that should be required, or it has to be inborn?
I think we all are creative in one way or the other. It's just a matter of us having to like figure out or be able to harness our skills, for example. So I think it's a mixture of both. It's something that could be learned at the end of the day, and it's also something that is inborn. So say myself for example, um, how I remember it, I wanted to stole the part of my father because, of course, he writes, although some of his works didn't quite make it to print, but they still inspired me in a small way. So I think sooner or later, more like I was bound to write. I was bound to start crashing ideas down on papers, as the case may be, or on my notepads, as the case may be. But it's also something that could be learned. I know when I started sharing my work with my friends, for example, writing was something they wanted to try out as well. Owing to the fact that I write, and of course, they found those writings remarkable. They wanted to like get to know how they could write, for example. I remember quite a good number of them came to me for assistance, as the case may be, and of course, they could learn, they could write as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the next question, right? So amongst your friends and among the people who you taught to write, are there specific things people need to have for those who maybe
Well, since I didn't, I think, don't know why it's not working.
It's a network problem. Okay, so I think
Um,
having challenges with our network as well. Okay, so Osas, let me ask you a
yes,
question.
I
From experience, how will you describe
okay,
ghostwriting and
okay.
freelancing marketing? Can you hear
How
me?
would I do what?
How would you
Yes, I can.
describe ghostwriting and freelancing business or industry in Nigeria, especially? What
Okay,
has been your
okay.
experience with freelancing?
I would say okay. I would say ghostwriting is quite a lot. It's quite demanding, as the case may be. I remember when I just started out ghostwriting, I had a bit of a challenge with meeting up with deadlines. I had a bit of a challenge with that. I had to learn, as the case may be. I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to challenge myself to want to be able to meet up with that. And then I had a bit of a struggle just writing and then letting someone else make the claim for my work, for example. So, when I wound up articles, for example, I for people who um, people who want those articles, at the end of the day, my name isn't going to appear on those write-ups. And then when I come across the remarks for it, it was always something I had a bit of a challenge trying to accept, trying to come to terms with. But of course, I had to learn. So it's quite demanding. It's quite challenging at the end of the day because writing, as much as people tend to think of writing as something that is quite easy, like a walk in the park, it isn't quite easy. At the end of the day, there's a lot entailed in it. There are many things you have to do. Say, for example, if someone should ask me to come up with an article, for example, I'd have to take the time to research, to do my research, write, and in most cases, we write and then edit, proofread, do all of the necessary things. And of course, I would want for it to be something remarkable at the end of the day, because I would want for the person to get so much value for what it is they patronize me for example. So there's so much entailed in it. And again, you could write a piece 1,000,001 times before you even consider it like the final draft.
I totally understand. Okay, I know that as freelancer, I myself am a freelancer, so there is this general problem with starting up in freelancing. What was it like? Maybe like getting your first client, getting your first three clients and starting in freelancing, maybe in this way. I would like you to share your experience because it's a common experience with those who are struggling to start, the business. What was it like getting your first customer?
Okay.
Because I know right now you're actually into training, you do a lot of training around those who want to go into writing and stuff like that. So tell me, what was it like getting your first customer? Let me use the word customer.
Okay. Yeah. At first, I didn't really think I wanted to write for other people like I earlier stated. And then it came with it started with my friends constantly asking me for write-ups, for example, free write-ups, and stuff like that. But in turn, they sort of like recommend my services to other people. And then I don't quite remember my first, um, I've had a lot of, what's it called, gigs, as the case may be. I don't quite remember the first, but the one I remember, I felt should I say special for lack of words to make use. And then I remember feeling on top of the world. Yes, I think I remember the first one now. I remember feeling on top of the world, owing to the fact that okay, someone somewhere finds my work remarkable, and of course they want me to write for them. It's not just a matter of them consuming or enjoying my work now. They want for me to be able to come up with something, wind up something for them, as the case may be. So it felt all too remarkable. And then the pay too. I never really knew I could get paid, for example, for skills like this, like just wind up articles for people. So it felt all too remarkable.
Wonderful. Nice. Okay, you can carry on from there, please.
I'm sorry about that. My connection has been acting up today. I don't know why. Okay, so you were just talking to us earlier on about how you were able to get other stuff. What the question I was asking earlier on was how were you able to tell people, those who are just coming, those who don't believe that they can be writers? What do you tell them? How do you tell them? What skill do they need to have to be able to know that they can do this? What's the first thing they need to know?
Okay, so I'm of the opinion that the ability to write is like process oriented. There are certain steps that need to be taken. There are certain structures that need to be put in place as well. So there are 1,000,001 things you could put in place so long you are willing to want to learn at the end of the day. Say for example, you have to take the time to study what works for you as a writer, because most people they end up complaining. They do more complaining than they actually do the work. So they end up saying things like they have creativity blocks from time to time. Stay away from creativity blocks. They end up procrastinating as often as possible. And this is something they ought to be able to comb. So if they are able to put some certain structures in place, then for a fact they will be able to roll up articles as often as possible. So there's a need for you to write as freely as possible. The first thing I tell them to write as freely as possible using words and phrases, for example, that come easily and readily to hand. So the idea is for them not to treat their first draft as their final draft. So at the end of the day, there's still a lot of work they could do. They could write the piece 1,000,001 times before they consider it the final draft. And of course, talking about knowing the things that could at least comb creativity block, for example, or procrastination. You have to take the time to want to study what works for you as a writer, like the environment that is best suitable for you. I do well in like really quiet environments because at the end of the day, I might easily lose track of my thoughts when I'm in a noisy environment, or when someone is like trying to like get my attention or opinion as regards one thing or the other. So I could easily lose track of thoughts. And of course, every word is like important. Everything you tend to think of is like important. And of course, there's need for you to like flesh them out, write them down as the case may be. So away from that, they could engage themselves in exercises that could at least unlock their creativity potentials. Say, for example, you find it quite hard trying to come up with articles or general write-ups, for example, then there is the need for you to listen to music. Myself, I love listening to classical music a lot. I love listening to classical music. I take the time to read works by other writers as well. And away from that, um there are a number of things I do, of course. Okay, I might take a stroke, for example, as well. So all
Okay.
of these things might in one way or the other help me get in the mood of writing. So these are things,
Okay.
these are exercises that at the end of the day you could easily get yourself engaged in. But at the same time, you might not want to get yourself too engrossed in them because they could really like see your time away from the goal, what it is you that is of paramount importance.
Wow, great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what advice do you have for young people who are trying to launch their career as freelancers? What do they have? What advice do you have for them?
Okay, I would say first things first. Try to be yourself as much as you can. Try to be your authentic self. I would use writing as a case study. So I'm usually myself when I write. Of course, I tend to read writings by other writers. Of course, I tend to read articles, stories, as the case may be, by other writers. But as much as I can, I tend to write as freely as possible using words and phrases that come easily and readily to hand. Of course, over the years, all of those words that I've had to read have sort of like shaping my, should I say, narrative peculiarities, or should I say, my signature. I've been able to like come up with my own signature. So there's the need for you to want to stick to what works for you. You don't necessarily have to be a copycat because you don't necessarily have to want to be like the next person. But of course, they are there to inspire you, as the case may be. So as much as you can, you might not. Yes, okay. Let's say, in trying to like be your authentic self, you don't have to lose yourself completely, as the case may be. So yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you so
And
much.
again,
Okay.
why is important? Okay, why is important to like want to narrow your focus on like a particular thing, for example? There is the need for you to try other aspects as well. I'll use myself as an example. I write, and at the end of the day, I just don't write. I just write. I coach writers, that's new or intended writers, or even old writers, as the case may be. I proofread, I edit, and then I come up with professional book covers, as the case may be. All of these things have been able to fetch me more money at the end of the day. So why is any important to want to like publish, for example, and just like focus, narrow your focus on publishing, for example? There are other things, several things that you could at least put in place, as the case may be.
You mentioned something about coaching other writers as well. So on Source in Business a mentorship program,
Yes.
Source in mentorship program, what more should people expect from you, potential mentees expect from you in the next session? Did you get that?
Um,
Hopefully, she will join us for next week.
no, I didn't quite get that.
So I believe she'll join us in another 3 months. Thank you so much, Osas, for your time. We appreciate it. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Okay.
So let's continue with Müge. I think she has so much to share with us this morning.
All right. Thank you, Grace Ijoma from Akwa Ibom. Thank you for joining. Please don't forget to share the link all over. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we are also on YouTube as well. You can share it to your friends and they can join us and connect with us. Adeboyin Wade, thank you for joining us from Lagos. Thank you. All right. So we talked earlier on before we were talking to Osas. We talked about remote work post COVID, if it's here to stay, and you gave an extensive view on it being better because it gives people the opportunity to work from their own comfort zone and to be flexible, which in turn would make them more productive. So for startups around the world, those who are leveraging on freelancing and all of that, now, how would you say that the situation is with is it the same with the people in Europe? I mean, for Africa here, with the advent of COVID and freelancing and startups and remote work, a lot of people have been harnessing and using the digital skills to help themselves. Now, do you think is it the same in Europe? How quick, how better is it in Europe, or worse? How is it in Europe?
So can you rephrase your question? Is it the question is whether we harness the COVID times to engage more in freelancing in terms of IT digital services rendered online?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So in general terms, what can be said is the general answer would certainly be yes. Definitely.
Okay.
We went through the same path. But maybe to put a little bit more flesh around the bone, I guess what can be said is the tendency to engage in startup activities have grown in the past decade anyway. And entrepreneurship has been something that has been looked into in particular by people until the age of 45, 50, very much so. Now, during COVID times, this tendency has been only strengthened. And as a result from it, you have people that did not think about putting money on the side, but engaged suddenly in entrepreneurship, who needed skilled IT and digital services to support their thoughts, their activities in the startups that they were building. Okay. So that tendency strengthened together with COVID. And it will not fall short in the coming years because the more it goes, the more people think that they can emancipate themselves from the established organizations in order to fulfill their own dreams with their startups. And doing so, and together with the times that we live in, the digital has gained in importance. And therefore, they will always be looking, because there are also the European businesses are in shortage of IT talents, they will always be looking into affordable IT services provided elsewhere.
Okay, great. All right. So with the whole
question,
yes, with the whole COVID and the advent of digital skills and remote work, skills have been surfacing left, right. When you go online, a lot of online platforms are giving out courses, some for free to people. Now, in your opinion, in your capacity as someone in an authority, what would you think is the top 10 skills, in-demand skills in Europe and around the world?
So the tendency is, so maybe I can go one step back. So the tendency is that the established companies will search for startups to invest in, right? So they will not opt for freelancing, but the startups will look for freelancers. So that's a fact all around the world. This is not only Europe, that's all around the world. And what will be the tendency is to, because as a startup owner, you were talking about leading a business, right? So as a startup or business owner, you would like to have some control over what personalizes your business, what is unique to your business. So that's not the part that you will delegate to freelancing necessarily. You might want to brainstorm with freelancers. You might want to figure out whether freelancers can bring some unique angle to your thoughts, but that's not the part that you necessarily immediately would think of delegating or outsourcing. The part that you will have the tendency to outsource and delegate are the execution related parts primarily, or at least at first. So those are tech and data, communication, marketing, change management, project management, agile coaching, scrum masters, web and graphic design. That's, for instance, some part where you have a little bit of a creativity in the business consulting, picture and sound, or other support functions like bookkeeping, human resources, customer support. Those are the part that are execution related and that will be easily transferable in terms of delegation. And then, the freelancing has some upsides. The upsides are that you can choose the skills that you work with, and you are facing a resource that is flexible and efficient normally if you choose well. So that is, of course, an upside to engaging with freelancing. And that's not within the skill segment of your question, but much more the nature of freelancing that will serve the purpose of new entrepreneurs worldwide.
That's great. That's great. All right. And so for Africans, a lot of African freelancers are looking to work with startups, like you mentioned, with companies not just in Africa, but in Europe and the rest of the world. Now, from your perspective, what are the indicators that African freelancers are ready to work with European startups?
So there are two aspects to answer the question. There's the infrastructural aspect. So there's the need for businesses to be able to identify talents on the African market. And for doing so, there needs to be networks built by individuals themselves, but maybe also by agencies that offer those networks, connections, that certain middlemen that will enable businesses worldwide to identify and access the talents in Africa. That's for one side. So that's the institutionalizing and infrastructure side of the answer to your question. The other side is the nature of skills or the nature of talents that are available on the African market. So we have spoken about the skills that would be demanded, but let us take also a look into the work ethics, which is something extremely important for most businesses, in particular businesses like entrepreneurial businesses, startups, scale-ups that do not have time in their hands to deal with personal development and work development of freelancers that they hire. So what are they looking for? They're looking for reciprocity in the activities. So it's not transactional, but it's reciprocal. So if they engage with trust, they would like to see trust coming back, and vice versa. So this is one example, right? If they engage with honesty, they would like to have honesty coming back. That is one aspect to it. The other work ethics aspect all include transparency. So with that comes open communication, reliability, regular follow-ups, punctuality, meeting the deadlines, etc. So that's the transparent part, where you don't offer any argument for the business that you're dealing with as a freelancer to, potentially criticize you on any intransparency. Then there is straightforwardness, anticipation of needs, proactivity. Those are aspects that are related to the dynamics that you bring to the table as a freelancer. So businesses generally appreciate people that are proactive, that think ahead, so anticipate, and that will be straightforward enough to voice what they think. and in a very diplomatic fashion, that's for sure, but it needs to be voiced. And plus, critical thinking is always appreciated, not in a disturbing way, but it's important to question whether the step that we undertake is the right one. And so as a freelancer, it's important to place the thought of an alternative to an option that is not considered the optimal option in a given situation. So critical thinking is valued. And maybe as a last point to answer your question, I believe that what is absolutely necessary is to be able to understand what we can offer as a freelancer and what we can't offer, and be straightforward about that part too.
Okay. That seems to answer the question I was going to ask, which was, how can African freelancers position themselves to be able to be marketable to the European market? You already pretty much answered. How can they position themselves?
So there's maybe one more aspect that I can add to that.
Okay.
Building up on the last point that I mentioned, I guess one of the ways that would enable to address several points that I mentioned also earlier in terms of infrastructure and visibility is, once you know as a freelancer what you can and what you can't offer, it might be useful to understand also the value asked for on the market. So what is being asked for? Is it a conglomerate of skills of which you have one part that you can offer? If that's so, it might be useful to bring under one and the same umbrella, for instance, one and the same organization that you build together with peers, also freelancers, a more comprehensive offering. Because if you do so, not only will you be as a freelancer able to access more projects and more comprehensive projects that would bring more, but also it would enable you to gain in visibility, because you would have a brand that you would be, working behind together with peers that offer complementary skills, which would be useful then to prepare yourself to address the market in a more efficient manner.
Great.
Okay, Müge, I think on Sunday, let me first of all thank you for the wonderful job you did on Sunday with the mentees, okay? Thank you so much. Then I would like you to speak more to one of the topics you actually addressed, which was USP.
Mm-hmm.
This is a major problem with those young people who want to launch career in freelancing. They have issue going around that strategy. So please, can you just speak a little more to that?
Yes. So that's closely related to the last point I mentioned. A USP is a unique selling proposition. When you are a freelancer, you are the product. You are the body, the physical representation of the product that you bring to the market, because the product is service. So if you want to bring yourself into the market, well, you need to brand yourself. You need to promote a certain branding, whereby you say, this is what I offer. And in order to know what you offer, you need to understand what is your unique selling proposition. What is the skill that is very unique in the way that you offer it, that you put out on the market for other businesses to purchase? They are purchasing your time, and they need to know what exactly they're purchasing. What will be the value add of taking you and not somebody else to offer the service that they are seeking? And for that, there's a whole process in place. It's a long time task. It takes a couple of iterations normally. Last Sunday, we have been through one. I have tried to approach the topic of unique selling proposition from different angles, building up on each other like Lego blocks, and leading to identifying within one sentence or two what exactly a freelancer has to offer on the market. And with that branding, the freelancer can then promote himself with a little bit more text on top and on the bottom of it. And it is the true way to actually also identify for yourself what you are able to do as a freelancer, whether it is something that you want to do really, and whether you have enough to bring to the table. And if so, if you do, then as a freelancer, you should feel the self-confidence that comes with, because you have every right to feel the self-confidence and to stand solidly on the ground with both feet. And that's very important for a freelancer, because most of them will encounter, like entrepreneurs all over the world, a lot of negative feedbacks and setbacks, and they will go through a lot of professional and personal development paths that will not always lead to satisfying results. And so in order to feel resilient, they need to feel self-confident. And if they know what they have to offer, then they have every right to feel self-confidence and to brave the wither that is out there. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for that. Okay, we're pressed for time already. We've got just a few more questions before we call it a day. So as a mentor on such a mentorship program, what more should your mentees or potential mentees expect from you in the next session?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a recap of what we have been seeing last week on last Sunday. Okay. I'm going to make sure that people are up to date as to what has been mentioned within a very brief recap. And building up on that information, I'm going to make sure that we internalize certain notions a bit more in depth, that we add certain angles to the picture that we haven't been looking at, so that we can internalize the concepts better. And also, maybe we will, in parallel to that, always have a sense of the change management that we as freelancers need to go through. So as a mentor, I will try to accompany people in that change management process. And I will try to give them tools and ways to understand the path that they can undertake to get to the readiness to address the freelancing market.
Speaking of tools, you mentioned tools. Recently, you spoke extensively on niche knowledge. So how do you think, startup freelancers can harness this strategy in promoting themselves and being better at what they do?
The niche knowledge enables to gain visibility faster. So generally, businesses, entrepreneurs, startups that will be looking for freelancers in Africa and that are looking for freelancers all over the world will try to identify those offerings that will bring them reliable outcomes and unique selling propositions together. So it's like a Venn diagram, and that sweet spot for them is not necessarily the sweet spot for the freelancers. So it's important to try and identify what is the exact niche within the segment that they want to be active in, that they would like to personally be active in and promote within their freelancing services. And that's what I mean by niche.
Okay. And so the other one I was going to ask you, you mentioned something about them. What's the sweet spot for the employers? It might not be the same startup, might not be the sweet spot for the freelancers. So how can African freelancers now position themselves to be visible to European startups? Now, you mentioned earlier on what the European startups were looking for, the kind of skills they wanted to have, the kind of expertise they would need. So how can these African freelancers position themselves to be visible so that, European startups can contact them and they can do business together?
So the most difficult part is, like Femi mentioned it earlier, it's the acquisition of the first clients, right? So that's the most difficult part. After that, it's a matter of reputation and word of mouth. But the first clients, those are the difficult ones to acquire, and that's where the ethical work ethics that we mentioned earlier come in. So it's important that the work ethics are in order, that we are able to offer our services fluently and in a way that connects with the values of the entrepreneurs or the startups, scale-ups that would purchase our services as a freelancer. So including, for instance, connectivity. So together we, today we had connectivity issues. That's nothing, that is not work ethics. It's not related to work ethics, but that's something that the businesses that will purchase the services of freelancers will be very attentive to. So are they capable of freely communicating ad hoc on demand with their freelancers that they purchase the services from? Is there any follow-up? Is there transparent communication? All of this is very important. All right, and then right before that, to gain invisibility, the USP and the way that we present ourselves as freelancers on the market is key. Is it a unique selling proposition that can be interpreted as such by the party that receives the information, yes or no? And is it contributing to adding a value to what they're searching for? And finally, I would like to reiterate what I was mentioning also earlier briefly, and that's the institutionalization or the connection between freelancers and businesses. And SourceIn is definitely, for instance, one of the intermediaries or the middleman between those freelancers wanting to offer their services and the startups and businesses and scale-ups and entrepreneurs that would like to purchase their services. So as long as sourcing is being visible, the people that are on that platform gain invisibility together with sourcing, for instance. So this is for instance, to give you an understanding of how to earn that visibility. Another way is, of course, active calling, active reaching out, active knocking on the doors of the different businesses that are interesting for the freelancers themselves. And one way of doing so that we see a lot currently on LinkedIn, for instance, is to identify those businesses, scale-ups, startups, entrepreneurs that are active in fields that are interesting for us and that we know we can contribute to, and reaching out to them via PM and as a personal messaging, and actively promoting ourselves as freelancers and the services that we have to offer, our unique selling point, our unique value that we bring to the market and that we would like to offer them.
Wow, that's great. That's fantastic. All right. Let's see if we have questions. Okay, Oladile, you joined in for me, Badon. Thank you so much for joining. Let's see if we have questions before we wrap it up today. If we do not have any questions, then we'll call it a day. All right. All right. So we'll be speaking to Müge Cöteli. She's from Switzerland. She's a lawyer. She is also a fintech evangelist in Switzerland, and she's an all-around and amazing mentor. Now, this question is coming from Timothy, and he says, "Oh, is this a question or okay? I think what most young Africans who are aspiring to join freelancing need is more people like Femi and Müge, okay, who are ready to provide mentorship during and after the training period. We need more foreign and local professionals to be available to mentor young Africans." Yes, I agree to that. All right. Finally, before I let you off, Müge, what exactly is the first thing a freelancer who has no idea, who has never done freelancing before, what is the first thing they need to know before they launch their career?
What they have to offer on the market.
What they have to offer.
Freelancers, yes, that's
they have to figure that out.
Selling proposition is the most important part that they need to address before they launch their career as freelancers.
Yes,
and they
if
can
I'm
go
going
with sourcing trainings.
Okay, and if I'm going to add to that, it also means that they need to go through mentorship.
Yes.
See, the reason why we started sourcing mentorship was because I know what I went through starting freelancing, okay? And I also know the challenges generally that Africans go through in order to, have kind of entrance into the global freelancing market. So they need to know what they are offering, what they are bringing to the market. They also need to understand what is in demand, what is needed in the market. They also need to find somebody who could guide them. And more importantly, Africans need a platform, and that is why we are offering sourcing business. Okay, so it
Yes.
is African Platform of Freelancers. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
most
you.
welcome. Thank you for
Thank you,
having
Ms.
me.
Cöteli. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
had a great time today. Thank you so much. All right. So if you're just joining, well, it's about time we wrap it up. It is upscaling 5 million African freelancers in 5 years. That is the goal, and it's powered by Source in Business. Now, Source in Business offers Source in Mentorship Program. Now, if you're someone who's interested in freelancing, you want to start up a career, you want to launch a career, you need someone to guide you. You need someone to take you by the hand and lead you through and show you the ropes and make sure that you're not making any mistakes and you're avoiding any pitfalls. And that's the reason Source in Mentorship Program is available. All you just need to do is go on to Source in Business, log on, and you can pick the right mentor for you, or whatever aspect of freelance you want to engage in. Just go and source in business, and I'm sure you're going to find the best mentor to lead you by the hand and take you through. Thank you so much for those who joined in and sent in their comments and messages. We'll be back again next week Wednesday at 10 a.m. Don't forget, you can connect with us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. All right, we're all over on social media. Tell your friends and tell someone to tell somebody, and of course, go on to Source in Business, connect, book a mentor, and just have a fabulous life as a freelancer. My name is Oge Mark, and I'll see you next week. Bye.